there was an epidemic in the area. So that's not, today's situation is not unique. There was also in that time, there was an epidemic around Calcutta, and his entire family died. His father, his mother, sisters, everyone. He was alone. And he was moved to Calcutta to live with his maternal uncle. And he lived with him for 6 years until 1858. So it was at that time that Kedarnath, at that time, that was his name, he was in search for education and employment, and he entered the circles of the Bhadralok. Why is that? Because his maternal uncle, he was already in the service of the British Raj at that time. And he belonged to the Bhadralok. What is Bhadralok? Can you give me a tissue? The Bhadralok is the name of a young generation of Indians at that time who got a British education, that they were intellectuals, that they were intellectuals, and most of them were employed in the service of the British colonial rulers at that time. And so Bhaktivinoda Thakur got also this education. We see later Srila Prabhupada also got such an education at the Scottish College in Calcutta. So he encountered this complex world of colonial Bengal. And he was studying at the Hindu Charitable Institution. But there he came in contact with the Tagores. The Tagores are very famous in India, in the history. Especially he became friends with Satyendranath and Gajendranath Tagore, and with Keshav Chandra Sen. Keshav Chandra Sen, all Indians must know him. He wrote Vande Mataram, the national hymn today of India. And he came also in contact with what would then be the future leaders of the Brahma Samaj. So that was the environment in which Bhaktivinoda Thakur grew up there. But he had this close association with the Tagores. Therefore, he was acquainted with the rationalism of the Brahmo Samaj. I couldn't explain what a Brahmo Samaj is, but that would lead us a bit too far maybe. But many of the Bhadralok, including Bhaktivinoda and Bankim Chandra. Yeah, it was Bankim Chandra who wrote Vande Mataram. Yeah. Not Keshav Chandra Sen, but someone else. So they were seeking, because these Brahmo Samaj were seeking to redefine the Hindu culture. That there are many things there. They wanted to abolish the caste system. That was bad, they found. And a few other things. So Kedarnath, Bhaktivinoda Thakura at that time started occasionally writing articles for the Hindu Intelligencer. And sometimes he would hold lectures on religion at the British Indian Society. Of course, his lectures were inspired by the philosophy of the Brahmo Samaj. He was not yet a devotee at that time. During that time, he also, because he followed his British education, he became engaged in studying the Bible under the direction of Reverend Charles Dahl. He was a Scottish missionary, especially the Scottish missionaries were very active. So by reading works on Christian theologians, he developed an appreciation for Jesus Christ and the Christian beliefs. All this experience made Kedarnath reflect upon the role of theism. So in the beginning, he was employed in Bengal as a teacher, but then he went to rigid examinations and he became a deputy magistrate. And he entered the higher ranks of the colonial service in 1894. During his service as deputy magistrate, he was relocated 25 times, serving in each location for a period of a few years as a deputy magistrate entrusted with various civil services responsibilities. You can see here that here at the left, you see Bhaktivinoda Thakur in his dress as a deputy magistrate. In 1868, Kedarnath was transferred to Dinajpur. So Dinajpur is a special village because all them were Vaishnavas and followers of the Chaitanya Vaishnava tradition. It was at that time he started to study Chaitanya Vaishnavism. From 1869 to 1874, he served as deputy magistrate in Jagannath Puri. So he became responsible for Jagannath Puri and the temple there. And it is said that he regulated the deity worship to an extreme precision. I think they have 64 offerings a day there, that he was regulating everything to a point of precision. That it was at that time in 1874 that Bimal Prasad, later Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Maharaj, was born, spiritual master of Srila Prabhupada. But in Dinajpur, he had been studying Chaitanya Vaishnavism, and since then Vaishnava Bhakti became his focal point of his life. He started to write books on different aspects of Bhakti in Bengali, in English, and in Sanskrit. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he was initiated by Bipin Bihari Goswami. He was in the line of Nityananda. It's interesting that it's the Nityananda Vamsi, the line of Nityananda, that so we see that our Guru Parampara is holding together by Shiksha, not by Diksha. and that's Shiksha is more important than Diksha. That but the Chaitanya tradition or Gaudiya tradition was practically lost at that time, completely gone. Only a few, but we will see that Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's role in reviving that tradition became very, very important. That so he developed strategies which were further developed later by his son Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, and also by Srila Prabhupada, and even today in ISKCON. That's a pillar of this preaching strategy was the printing of books. He started printing books, that not only in Bengali but also in English, because Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he was familiar with the British colonial culture and with the expressions of Krishna's of Christians' faith in English, and he knew how to present Chaitanya Vaishnavism in a way understandable for the English-speaking world. He showed how traditional religious faith might legitimately be expressed in terms of the 19th century Bengali culture, because he was acquainted with the conclusions of Gaudiya Siddhanta, and he had his experience with the British colonial world. So by that, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he developed his ability to present Chaitanya Vaishnavism in a language that was appealing for the Western world. On August 29, 1896, Bhaktivinoda published a 64-page book, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, His Life and Precepts, a work containing a short collection of Sanskrit verses summarizing the teachings of Chaitanya. He sent several copies to universities abroad. He reached the bookshelves of the McGill University in Montreal and the University of Sydney in Australia and the Royal Asiatic Society in London. So he printed that small booklet about the teachings of Lord Chaitanya. And he sent it all over the world. That is global book distribution. Besides introducing the printing and distribution, Bhaktivinoda was also concerned with setting up an international organization. He's really the father of who set all the basics of ISKCON now. That so he founded the Vishwa Vaishnava Raj Sabha, the Royal World Vaishnava Association, and had regular meetings of that association. That's still continuing, that association, especially Jayapataka Maharaj. He put a lot of effort in it. And on the day of the disappearance of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj, all these members from all other Gaudiya groups or Vaishnava groups, they come together in Mayapur. So it founded also the Royal World Vaishnava Association and at regular meetings. During that same year, he also founded a research center, the Vaishnava Depository, a library intended for the preservation of Chaitanya Vaishnava literature. We have now our Bhaktivedanta Research Center in Calcutta. That's also, but that was what we started these initiatives by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. This included the installation of a printing press, which he used to publish Satchanatosani, a magazine containing news of Bhaktivinoda's missionary activities, as well as for publishing his songs, his writings on theology, Vaishnava history, contemporary religious issues. He wrote about so many things that so another strategy was to present Chaitanya Vaishnavism in an attractive way to an international audience. He wanted to build bridges between Vaishnava and Judeo-Christian traditions. He did not hesitate to use Christian expressions such as the universal fraternity, the cultivation of the spirit, or church, and he used that to communicate our Vaishnava teachers to the West. And he often identified Islam and Christianity as Vaishnava type religions because they recognized the supreme Godhead as the highest principle. In this way, he was seeking to adapt Chaitanya Vaishnava culture to the world. Besides the inauguration of a tradition of printing and distribution of books, Bhaktivinoda also set up routes for introducing individuals to the practice of Vaishnava rituals. That so there is Bhaktivinoda Thakur, once that one time he completed the offering before the deities but one time Bimal Prasad, later Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj, it took at a young age a mango meant to be offered to the deity. Seeing this, Bhaktivinoda Thakur mildly rebuked him and explained that it was unsuitable to eat food that not had been offered first to the deity. It is said that after this incident, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj felt himself an offender and vowed to never eat mangoes during his entire lifetime. That at another time, that was in 1881, that this Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj at that time was in the 7th grade, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur gave him for the first time Tulsi chanting beads. And he encouraged him to chant. And Bhaktisiddhanta used this set of beads during his entire life. Also, Bhaktivinoda Thakur used to give regular lectures on Vaishnava scriptures. He gave these lectures in his house, and Gaurkishore Das Babaji, a highly esteemed ascetic renunciant, and also the future guru of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj, would regularly attend the classes of Srila Bhakti Vinoda Thakur. Such lectures would be preceded by chanting of Krishna's name and followed by the distribution of prasad, sacred food, to the deity. So Srila Bhakti Vinoda Thakur would give lectures, and then after that, prasad. First kirtan lectures, prasad. That's a system we still follow today. So that was Bhakti Vinoda Thakur's daily practice. But when he was traveling, Bhakti Vinoda Thakur, from village to village, doing his work for the British Raj, then Bhakti Vinoda Thakur developed a network of Namahata centers. He established everywhere preaching centers. He would inspire local devotees to hold regular gatherings in their house and to chant the holy name, read the scriptures, and then prasadam. So he developed this Namahata system. So that was one of his main strategies to spread Chaitanya Vaishnavis from village to village. So his dream was to establish a global Vaishnava community, a dream that was later realized by Srila Prabhupada. Also, we have, if we see that, so Bhakti Vinoda Thakur, he established the printing press, he established the Namahata preaching style, and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj developed that further, and Srila Prabhupada developed that even further, and we are still working according to the same principles, book distribution and the preaching programs. So that was started by Srila Bhakti Vinoda Thakur. So in that sense, we can understand how Srila Bhakti Vinoda Thakur was a great innovator. He also, and that's a very important contribution, he discovered a copy of Chaitanya Charitamrita, because that was not known at that time, that disappeared practically completely. And he printed again Chaitanya Charitamrita and also the Bhagavatam, and he distributed these books. He revived Chaitanya Vaishnavism, because it was at that time only a small fraction of the population which was still following Chaitanya Vaishnavism. And most of them were Upper Sambradayas, deviations. And it was really Bhakti Vinoda Thakur and later Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj who re-established the purity of our line and made clear how all these older practices were Upper Sampradayas. Most were sahajas. Sahaja means taking it cheap, that being attached to sense gratification and to Krishna at the same time. That doesn't work. That you must follow the regulative principles and according to and know the right siddhanta of the scriptures. That also Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur as a judge, he was very strict in his practice. He was doing his job. He used for his job every day half of the time than his colleagues. And his colleagues were envious that he could do such work in less time. But he was a very strict judge. That he had to, one time he had to fight against a fake spiritualist, someone who had mystic powers. That and he had so much mystic powers that because he was saying, I'm going to destroy the British. Of course, the British, they were not very happy with that and asked Bhaktivinoda Thakur to arrest this person. And he went and he arrested this person. He had great mystic power. He had long hair, like mystics. They keep their mystic powers in their hair. That he was put in jail and he was not eating for so many days, and through and Bhaktivinoda Thakur became very sick. His wife also by the mystic powers of this person. But Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj one day gave the order to shave his hair, and when he lost his hair, he fell down practically lifeless. All his power was gone. That so he was always assured of the protection of Krishna, great faith, and also he wrote so many songs. So many songs we are still singing today in our movement. The songs of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, they are as good as the scriptures. They are also showing us realizations, the eternal mood of a pure devotee. Very beautiful songs. That which yeah. So today we are remembering Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. That I can pray for his mercy, that we can become fixed in the mission of Srila Prabhupada, and may continue to use his methods, the methods of spreading Krishna consciousness, and become more expert in it. That without Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, our movement would be not revived, and we would have been now without any significance. That he revived Chaitanya Vaishnavism, and that was further, that mission was further executed by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj and Srila Prabhupada. Because Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur was very strong against these upper sampradayas and the Smriti Brahmins, Smarta Brahmins. Yeah, that the caste Brahmins would think they are Brahman by birth, and Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Maharaj, he became even stronger against them. And we see that also in Srila Prabhupada's preachings, how he is condemning those who say that one is Brahman by birth, that one is Brahman by qualification. If one, Srila Prabhupada in many lectures says, if you want to become a high court judge, you first must go to the examinations, you must become qualified. It's not that you are born as a son of a high court judge, that you are a high court judge. So that's also coming from Srila Bhakti Vinoda Thakur, the fight against impersonalists and the fight against the caste Brahmins. And Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Maharaj went even further, challenging them that because he gave initiation of those from Sudra background who were not born Brahmins, gave them Brahman initiation. And that caused a great conflict with the Brahmin community. Then Srila Prabhupada went further. He gave Brahmin initiation to Westerners. But that was possible because Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Maharaj established this principle. One with Brahmin qualities, he is a Brahmin. Not one who is took birth as a Brahmin. Also, what's interesting in this history is that some in the line of Nityananda Vamsi, they were proclaiming that only their line had a monopoly on pure devotional service. That and it was Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Maharaj who smashed this completely. That but that resistance against these upper sampradayas, not bona fide sampradayas, deviating from our line. That resistance comes really from Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Because Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Maharaj also, from a young age, became an editor of the writings of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So he knew very deeply the mood of his father. So today, also, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he was a householder and a pure devotee. And he had, I think, 10 or 11 children. That's a big family. And still, he became the founder in Acharya movement, even up to date. So that's very exemplary. That's the life of a pure devotee. So thank you very much. Are there any comments or questions?
Thank you very much, Maharaj. Would you suggest any specific book by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur?
Srila Bhakti. I remember Sharanagati. That's one of his big works, and we have different songs of that. Of course, we have also the Jaiva Dharma. Jaiva Dharma is an interesting work that shows it's in the form of a conversation, but it goes very deep in the Siddhanta of our tradition. At the same time, I would not I would not recommend to read it unless you have read and understood the Siddhanta of Gaudiya Vaishnavism by studying Srila Prabhupada's books.
Okay.
Shaiva Dharma is one of his main works. Saranagati, because he was broad-minded. He studied also the Sri Sampradaya and their approach of surrender. And he took from them all also these different items of surrender that as established in the Sri Sampradaya, but that's also applicable to us. Surrender means first doing what Krishna wants us to do, follow his instruction in Bhagavad Gita, and avoid what he does not want to do. And then one must understand that Krishna is the only maintainer. And Krishna is our only protector, factually. And then one becomes humble. And then one surrenders one's life and body, mind, and words, everything to the Supreme Lord. So that's the process of surrender, and therefore Saranagati is based on that principle. It's very beautiful, very beautiful. That there are many other songs. Also songs he was singing from previous acharya. That of course we sing every evening the Gaur Arti. That in the last line, Bhakti Vinoda Deke Gaura Bhakti Vinoda Deke means the vision of. This was the vision of Bhakti Vinoda Thakura, seeing Lord Brahma, Shiva, and Narada Muni dancing in ecstasy. We sing that every day at the Gaur Arti. That's from Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Yeah, there are so many songs that it's amazing what a life and what he left behind for us. That hundreds of songs. I know devotees who have become specialized in the songs of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Very beautiful. That's something else.
No, thank you very much, Maharaj.
Okay. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So today we fast till noon, and we will have a short ceremony here at noontime in the temple. We do the Guru Puja ceremony for Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So we're wishing you a nice Sunday. Hare Krishna. Jai Prabhupada.
Thank you very much.
Hare
Krishna Maharaj.
Hare
Thank you, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.